Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm as always your host here, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we are going to do an update to yesterday's episode where we discussed the ins and outs of what's going on more recently with myself and a chick who I considered a friend about 6 years ago. And the whole Casey Putsch situation right now is what it is. And so basically, this is just an update 273 is what it is. More has happened in the past about 14, 16 hours, something like that's what it is now. Between myself and this woman. And now it's basically the ball's in her court because I responded back to her stuff as what it is now. So basically, what had happened was, as I said in the last episode you had yesterday, it was this chick I'd met back in 2020 who was supposed to be for 2A rights and stuff like that's what it is. And she basically went on this whole tirade accusing Casey Putsch, who's running for the Ohio governor's race here in like a month or so. Actually, not even a month or so. It's literally 3 weeks from today is when the primary is now. And she was making accusations of him being a neo-Nazi and people that support him being neo-Nazis and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, you're probably opening yourself to a lawsuit from me if that be the case. You keep trying to defame me and my organization is what it is there, since we endorse Putsch is what it is. Which I'm not opposed to getting more at this point, just suing the shit out of her if it comes to it is what it is then, dude, over this whole thing, because it's just ridiculous what it is. That being said, I don't think I'm going to take it that far, honestly, just because it's like, there's really no reason to. Like, I'm just going to call her out and I would probably just unfriend her is what it is then, is what it is on Facebook, there's what it is. Because really, the truth of the matter is, like, we're not really friends, we're just acquaintances anyway. And I think the biggest issue comes down to the fact of the matter is you have so much midwittery going on in this country right now is what it is, where these people will see one thing and just take it as like fact or whatever the case be, whereas what she was bringing up, obviously what I was bringing up was, I was like, you realize like Vivek has done all this stuff is what it is right now, because the way she was basically saying was like she's voting for Vivek or whatever for upcoming primaries, what it is there, and I'm like, you realize number one, this going to turn Ohio into little India right now, right? And like going on to other stuff and whatnot, and also all the other various things Vivek's done now recently of like how she's been kicked out of the race already is what it is because of basically embezzling money from the campaign funds for his trip to Puerto Rico. Not to mention the fact that he did the same exact thing to fuel his private jet with like $400 million, or yeah, it was sorry, not $400 million, $400,000 of jet fuel was taken out of the like 20 mil or so that he brought into campaign funds, which I know for a fact there's no way that that's legal, dude. Like what Vivek did there is what it is. Like you can't sit there and tell me that wasn't a fucking huge crime when you're taking money that is supposed to be meant for a campaign for you to literally, like I mean I guess you can technically see that as travel expenses, but the thing of it is though, if you're wasting money on a private jet to fly around the state of Ohio, like that right there shows you're not a touch piece of shit is what it is, dude. Like you don't give a fuck about Americans, you don't give a fuck about anybody is what it is, dude. All you give a fuck about is enriching yourself at this point, honestly. Not to mention the most recent stuff with Vivek now is how he was basically doing a bunch of crypto stuff and then basically losing his shirt on a bunch of crypto stuff is what it is there because it's all like scammer coins and things like that is what it is. Yet meanwhile, he's trying to get Ohio's Republican Party now to back a bunch of state funds and state funding to go into the same bullshit that basically, he lost his shirt on now is what it is. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if something happens where Vivek potentially were to become governor, where he would actually basically take our rainy day fund that has billions of dollars in it right now and either straight pocket it into his own pocket and then just run for the fucking hills is what it is then. Like, hell, for all we know, he'd probably fly back to fucking India, live with his dad then, which I'm not so sure that India would have extradition with America at this point. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised unless he just like found his way back to that country is what it is then. And fucked us all over, and it was like the same exact shit we saw in Minnesota yesterday or a couple days ago, where you had that judge let that Somali guy off, who embezzled like $11 million in Medicaid fraud, is what it is. And was told the guy was a flight risk, and of course the guy jumped on the plane immediately and flew to Somalia or wherever the fuck he's at now is what it is, and just gone with that cash. So yeah, like that's the whole point entirely. But yeah, I was saying like everything about Vivek and how it's like, like why would you ever vote for this person that like clearly is gonna fuck you over when it's all said and done? Not to mention when you look at Vivek's whole thing with Obama and stuff like that, the guy's definitely Obama 2.0 is what it is right now. So, but yeah, her comeback was basically, oh yeah, I would totally vote for that guy over this fucking neo-Nazi Casey Putsch. And it's like, okay, where's your actual proof of that besides you just saying this bullshit? Like, I'm providing you with actual hard facts here, lady. Like, you're just providing me with bullshit what it is. And then she claimed it was some Tucker Carlson interview where Casey was talking about how, it will basically be in Israel's pocket is what it is there, like we are right now with AIPAC and things like that. And it's like, okay, neither do I. Neither does most of Americans, dude. Like, we don't want to be put into somebody else's wars for some other country. We want to be actual America first is what it is, dude. And that's why I've said before, like, MAGA is fucking retarded at this point, dude. It's all mega shit is what it is. And it's all corrupted by specifically Netanyahu and the power brokers that are control of Israel right now is what it is there. It's not the entire country of Israel, but it's like the heads of it is what it is there. It's just like how when you look at the U.S., you can't sit there and say it's all U.S. It's not United States, every citizen in this country, whatever the case be. It's the assholes that are in power that shouldn't be is what it is there that are the fucking problem. And that's the big distinction I'm trying to make right now is what it is. Because my personal gripe is not with the country of Israel. It's with Netanyahu and the people at the heads of it is what it is there, dude. It's these people that are trying to be like, oh, we need to have more American soldiers, boots on the ground, and let Americans get killed for their fucking causes to enrich their asses. And it's like, fuck that, dude. And like I said back to her, I was like, yeah, I don't want to see a future draft happen where your son, because her son right now is like 18, 19. My nephew is around 18 to 20 is what it is now. And I think my nephew actually just turned, I want to say he just turned 19 recently, so he'd be going on 20 now is what it is. But yeah, like I was saying to her, I was like, I don't want to see your son or my nephew get drafted in these things is what it is, dude. For some of the bullshit countries, what it is. Like, it's fucking stupid, honestly, dude. It's nonsensical is what it is. We don't need any more American blood shed for other nations. We won't be pulled into any wars for other countries is what it is, man. So, and we sure as shit don't need our elected officials, whether it be federally or at a state level, having dual alliances to other nations is what it is, dude. Which is obviously what Vivek would have is, being an Indian-born kid is what it is there. Like, there's no way he doesn't have ties to India at this point, honestly, just based on the fact his father still lives in that country is what it is there. The same father I talked about yesterday that could never pass a U.S. citizenship test, yet this fucking guy is trying to run for governor right now to force every high school graduate in the state to pass the citizenship test. Like, it's not only very ironic, it's also just complete scummery is what it is, dude. At the end of the day, it's complete scumbaggery is what it is there. Because it's like, you're trying to say, oh, you want us to pass these tests, or you want our kids to pass these tests, while your own dipshit father can't pass the fucking test. So, yeah, it's just retardation, basically, at the end of the day is what it is there. So, yeah, it's just all kinds of fuckery is what it is there, man. And it is kind of sad when you think about it, though, because, I thought this one was a friend at one point. I really did. That being said, the last time we hung out legitimately would have been almost 5 years ago now, or actually right around 5 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken, which is ironic because she lives in the city I'm currently renting this place in right now is what it is. So if she wanted to, she could just come over and we can hang out. We can talk in person is what it is then. But I don't think she'll do that is what it is, though. But I do remember when I first had met her, and then we talked a little bit after that is what it is. Within that year or so time span after the fact, she was definitely, I think she even called herself a Trump girl is what it was, which makes sense. If you're backing the dude that was president and stuff like that, and you're going to keep backing with what it is there. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It just seems kind of, I don't want to say brainwashed, but it feels very and that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of understand where some of these leftist people are coming from now, claiming the whole MAGA movement is just brainwashed individuals. And I'm not saying that's 100% true, but I think in this case, there's definitely some truth to it, honestly, at that point, though. So, which is sad, honestly. And yeah, I'm just basically waiting for her to get back to me at this point. I'm gonna go check check the socials and see if she has responded back or not now at this point, honestly, because I think when she responded back, it was like way early this morning that it was. So it was also interesting how she responded back to me, because instead of doing like one big comment, she did like multiple smaller ones and like a 10 or 15 minute time span is what it was, it seems like. So sorry, I just saw something funny on one of the Facebook groups that I am sub to, is what it is there. We're showing like some leftist stupidity is what it is there. So and then for those that haven't heard about it, there's I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago now, where you had, it was Vivek's dipshit bodyguard at the time, who, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that the company he hired to be his personal security is what it is there for this race, they had no legal right to even be private security in the state because they had no licensing is what it is there. And as it turned out, the guy that was like his head bodyguard guy was quite literally doing like meth, and I believe he was trying to do like some child trafficking stuff, if I'm not mistaken. That's what he's busting on more recently. And now they have, it's some piece of legislation in the General Assembly now that they're trying to push through and force through that would basically make it so Ohioans have to pay for private security for all these politicians now is what it is. And it's like, fuck that, dude. If you want to run for office, pay for that shit yourself, dude. If you want to run for the governorship, pay for yourself. If you want to run for the governor, pay for yourself is what it is there, bro. Seriously. It's fucking ridiculous. Fucking stupid is what it is. So but yeah, like I said, I'm just personally disgusted about the whole thing is what it is, and it's just sad, man. Really, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised it's coming to this, honestly. But yeah, like I said, going back to what I was discussing with this chick is what it is. Her thing was, to me, it's like asking me who I was backing and stuff like that for the race, and I'm like, well, I'm sure as shit not backing a guy who's going to turn this state into little India. So, you know, actually at this point, I'm backing complete abolishment of state government is what it really is, honestly. At the end of the day, dude, so I think that's what's going to have to come to at this point, honestly. So, but anyway. Yeah, I'm just fucking done with it, dude. I'm just done with all of it. And I think most people are at this point, honestly. I think, really honestly, we truthfully need America first. But I think, honestly, the problem is we're never voting our way out of this anymore, is what it is. It's going to take a full-blown revolution of some kind to actually fix everything right now, is what it is. And like I said, if that revolution can be non-violent, whether it be, you know, abolishing a state government and then replacing it completely is what it is there, that would work one way. Obviously, here in Ohio, might work a different way in a different state, obviously. Recalls might work nationwide and stuff like that, depending on, you know, if you actually can't have those in your state or not right now, if it's been passing the laws and stuff like that. But then, of course, what we saw recently now, too, there was the vote that happened, or vote I believe was going to happen yesterday, to expel both Eric Sowell and Tony Gonzalez from Congress there. Instead, they both basically resigned in the last 24 hours now, is what it is, which is not surprising. That you got people apparently calling on Pelosi for covering up Sowell's crimes and everything else like that now is what it is. So, as I said before, when you look at Eric Sowell specifically, That guy should have been kicked out of office at least 6 years ago, back in 2018, when he was literally talking about nuking U.S. gun owners, is what it was. He went on this whole tirade about using nuclear weapons against U.S. gun owners in this country. And then from there, you had the whole Fang Fang scandal of him fucking Chinese spies. You had a whole bunch of other criminal shit that Sewell's done. There's been, I think, honestly, when you look at every single crime that Eric Sewell has committed in office, if you include all like the insider trading and stuff like that, the dude's probably committed like several hundred felonies at this point, honestly, because each time the insider trading stuff was going on, that was a different crime in itself right there is what it is. But if you just like drop out all those and stuff like that, and you only go with like the base stuff, like the nuking gun owners, the Chinese spy fucking, etc. there, and obviously giving, American secrets to a literal spy is what it is. Which, by the way, used to be high treason death penalty in this country. The fact that it's still not in 2026 right now is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that it wasn't even back in 2020 is absolutely ridiculous, because technically it still should be on the books at this point for that whole thing. But yeah, like that's the thing, and I think that's the biggest thing difference really between men and women in this nation is, and it's something I've seen. It doesn't matter if it's leftist chicks, if it's right-wing chicks, if it's centrist chicks, like they all run on emotion, dude, is what it is. They're all emotional. They're all about emotion. They can always push about emotion first is what it is there. Whereas dudes, myself and many others, we run on logic. We run on thinking is what it is, dude. Like for me personally, being autistic and stuff like that, like has my emotions gotten to me from time to time in here? Yes, obviously that's clear. But at the same time, like, I like to think rationally for the most part is what it is, man. And that's the thing, you look at, there was that study done here a couple years ago now, I believe what it was, and it keeps popping back up in various people's shorts and stuff like that's what it is there, where they were discussing, it was men and women's brains and like different brain chemistry is what it is there, where you have, it's you'll have people play a game fairly and you'll have people cheat, then is what it is. And you'll have different pleasure centers or like receptors in the brain react differently depending on what's happening there. Whereas for the dudes, when they saw somebody, cheating and then get caught for it and basically get their ass kicked is what it is there. That's lit up guys, emotional response is what it is there. Whereas meanwhile, you had women who were watching the same exact thing, and it didn't matter if the people were playing a fair game or they were cheating. They had no response at all is what it was, dude. It was the exact same thing for each one. So it's just pretty disgusting what it is, and it really does show like different, chemistry makeup and stuff like that, the human brain, especially when you do the XY versus XX chromosomes, what it is there. But and again, it shows exactly why you have this country basically going to shit as what it is now, because you have the suicidal empathy of so many of these women. And it doesn't matter if, like I said, they're left, right, or center. Like, they're what's really destroying this country, honestly, dude. Like, their emotional sympathy for stupidity is what it is there, and voting in, like, the worst possible people is what it is there. And then they're going to sit there and call a fellow white person a neo-Nazi, and it's like, and you wonder why we're divided racially is what it is. You wonder why we have no racial homogeny in this country. You wonder why white folks are literally the only race that has not gone tribal right now. Yet, meanwhile, every other race has gone tribalistic. You wonder why, when you look at the world population, for the white race, it's like 6 to 8% right now, someplace in there. Like I heard 8% a couple months ago, and now most recently I heard like 6% the other day. But I don't know how true that is either way, but I'm guaranteeing it's definitely going down globally, and a lot of it happens to be because of the mass killings going on in South Africa. They're white farmers. And obviously all these Christian missionaries and stuff like that everywhere in different African nations that are being killed regularly is what it is there. So, not to mention the attacks on Christianity itself, there's what it is worldwide, mostly by Islam. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to see, my country fall to a bunch of Islamic terrorists. I don't want to see my country fall to a bunch of Indian foreign nationals who don't even speak English as a first language, dude. Or refuse to assimilate for that matter either, what it is there. It's like, I don't want to have to worry about going into a store in a year or two and knowing if everything I'm going to pick up to buy as groceries and stuff like that has like human shit on it, because these people want to sit there and fucking bring their shitty ass traditions from their turtle ass country into my fucking country, So, and if that makes me bigoted or whatever the fuck you want to call it at that point, I'll give a shit, honestly, dude. I'm just sick and tired of all of it, man, for real. I'm sick and tired of watching my nation get raped from the inside. That's what it is, by fucking people who shouldn't be in the first place. That's what it is, dude. Who are enriching themselves and should be put in prison for the stuff they're doing, because it's all criminal behavior to enrich themselves. What it is there. Yeah, they're not doing it. That's not happening. Is what it is. Because that's the fact of the matter right now, dude. Look at how Vivek Ramaswamy became a billionaire in this country. He committed the exact same securities fraud crimes. He committed the exact same IPO crimes that Martin Shkreli went to prison for. Yet, for some reason, Vivek was allowed to just walk, is what it was, dude. And it makes me wonder if he didn't have some kind of weird setup with some other people, is what it is there. Because I could see it being a situation where he was just smart enough to have like other people involved, where if he went down, he would have just taken them down with him. And it would have been like some power brokers within the DC politics, what it is there or something. And because he was able to pull that shit and get them involved and pay them off somehow, is what it is, it became like a whole mutually assured destruction thing. It's very similar to what we're seeing with Hollywood and Washington, D.C. as pedophile rings. There is what it is, dude. I'm not trying to equate, Vivek being some kind of predator or whatever the case be. I don't know what surprised me was, honestly, but, that's besides the point. I don't have any evidence of that yet anyway, which I'm not saying I couldn't find some eventually, but, if there is some out there to be found, obviously, but, I think his is more just, he's just a scumbag, everyday criminal is what it is there. But I'm obviously shifting to the point of DC being the middleman. There's what it is, though. Because when you have, these pedophile rings, both in the U.S. government and then in Hollywood, they're, interchangeable. They're colliding with each other. What it is there, it's like, circles. It's like circle here, and then there's like that third circle where they basically come between each other. What it is there. And you realize like how many of these people are just corrupt as shit. Is what it is there, dude. You understand that like the whole system just needs to go down, is what it is right now, and be starting fresh with brand new uncredited people in there, is what it is. And I've said this before, dude, like right now with what we're seeing in Congress and stuff like that, dude, etc., of all these lifetime career politicians and stuff like that, dude, that should have been turned out decades ago. We would be better off as a country right now if we just picked literally like 500 names out of a fucking hat. And we're like, okay, you're now the president, you're now a congressman, you're now a senator, you're now the AG of America, you're now the Secretary of State of America, et cetera, there. And we'd be so much better off as a country right now, is what it is, dude. Now, granted, in some cases we'd be kind of fucked, is what it is there, dude, because obviously you would have like, you couldn't just have like some random person that has like no military strategy being like a 5-star general or something like that now, is what it is, or 4-star general now, or whatever it is there, and be like, Secretary of War or something like that. You'd actually have to have people that would be like, you have to make like a pool of people there for that particular, assignment, is what it is there, for that political seat of power, is what it is. But the entire point of the matter is that you could easily have a better country with just random everyday people, and is what it is there, dude. And if nothing else, at that point with that whole, if we actually did it that way, is what it is then, and just pick random names out of a hat, is what it is, you could obviously have something else be implemented too, for that matter, where it'd be like either a 4-month review or a 6-month review for these folks. where it's like they had 4 months to 6 months to figure it out, and if they didn't figure it out and weren't doing something good to make this country better, then you're out, is what it is. And that's how it should be anywhere now, is what it is, dude. Like, the fact that we don't have performance reviews in our political spectrum right now is absolutely ridiculous, because, and I don't care if it's at a federal level or a state level, when you have these people who have done absolutely nothing to make the lives of American people better, and you have a lot of them openly saying, yeah, it's not the American people that we actually are for, it's the illegal aliens now, because they're the ones that are the voter bases for the people committing voter fraud, is what it is there, dude. And that's pretty much every single person in the Democrat Party right now that's saying that shit, honestly, dude. So, or you'll have these people that are the anti-gun fucksticks of our society right now, where they will sit there and they will openly, like in Rhode Island, about a year ago, give or take now, because I was watching the Colin Noir video last night. It was some bullshit the Democrats passed there, where they basically were like, oh, well, we're just going to grandfather in ARs now. We're going to not let people to buy them anymore, is what it is there. And now they're going back about a year later now, is what it is. And you got this woman last night. I don't know how exactly when this happened. The video came out like probably a few days ago, I think is what it was, from the Rhode Island General Assembly. There's what it is. But obviously Noir's video dropped last night, I believe is what it was, or at least I saw it last night anyway. And it was this woman named Teresa something or other. I'm going to see if I can find her name actually real quick, and I will show you exactly who she looks like, is what it is. So, let's see, Road Island. Yeah, it's Teresa Tanza, or Tanzi. Is that right? Tanzi? Here is a bunch of pictures of her. She was the one that was doing the testimony there at the Rhode Island State House. There's what it was. They're talking about that grandfather clause there, and now she's like, oh yeah, we're going to do some other bullshit now and be a bunch more anti-gunners now, is what it is. And it's like, the fuck you are, bitch. So it's just nonsense, is what it is, dude. And I think that's the problem right now, is that people aren't waking up to this crap, is what it is, dude, not realizing, like, their end game is to disarmament us all, dude, is what it is. Their literal end game is to destroy our society from the inside out. And at the same time that they're doing that and trying to restrict our rights and stuff like that, they are openly importing the third world into our nation and creating a very, I don't know what the fuck's going on right now, dude. It's like my thing is messed up or something. I'm going to try and back out and then come back in, is what it is. See if that doesn't work. Huh. Yeah, that's super weird, though. I'm not sure what the fuck's going on with StreamYard now. It's being stupid, honestly. Not letting me get any bigger at all. Unless I'm doing these ones. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. It was going the wrong thing or something. Whatever. Anyway. The entire point I'm trying to make, though, is you have these people who don't give a shit about our society anymore. They're openly being oath-breaking, scumbag, fucking cunts is what it is. They should have already been arrested out of office for deprivation of rights or code of laws, what it is there. And yet we're not doing this stuff right now. And that's why I think, honestly, you're going to see an overcorrect when it's all said and done, where instead of it just being a couple, you know, and that's the thing, like you look at what happened, specifically going back to world history and going back to, you know, 1791, and time periods like that is what it is. And when you look at, what happened during the French Revolution, you had these people where everything started out, fairly decent, where their end game was basically just like, hey, there's a lot of corruption going on here. Let's deal with the corruption is what it is there. And then unfortunately, eventually it became, the whole guillotines, however you want to pronounce them. I think it's actually guillotine. Some people will say guillotine, whatever, it doesn't matter. The whole point is, though, is that when you had the guillotine being created back in those days, you had these people that are like, yes, we need to, kill this corruption of what it is now. And so they took out the power brokers that were the heads of the country at the time. The problem was when you started denogonizing everybody, that it eventually got to a point where it became like blood fervor, essentially, and people had this bloodlust going on then. And the people that started the French Revolution ended up being like a secondary victim of it in a lot of cases, where the leadership that was the people originally coming together and being like, hey, like we need to deal with these political corrupt elites over here, they end up being called that themselves when it was all said and done. And you had like the first, several hundred people being, heads lopped off and stuff like that. And then eventually these people that were that original leadership ended up being put to the guillotine themselves, as what it is then. And that's exactly what we don't need to have happen, obviously. But at the same time, what we need to see, especially in America right now in 2026, is definitely a reset to our founding documents, is what it is. And when I say founding documents, I mean legitimately 1 to 10 Bill of Rights for our constitutional amendments. There's what it is. It needs to be, free speech, bear arms, speedy trial, no quartering of soldiers, no illegal search and seizures, states' rights, everything. What it is, the way it's written. So the entire point of the matter is, when you have our nation potentially getting that hard reset back to the founding documentation of this country,